Hi, thank you for joining me. Once again, I am Aisha and I'm here with NCE Company. My company is called NC Essentials Co. or Company, and you may have been watching NCE Company where we have continual uh, resources through video to advise you, encourage you, motivate you as a business leader. You have been doing your thing for about 10, 20, or 30 years. If that is you, you are my audience. And the reason is because you know where you're going with your skills, what you're doing. You just may not be as organized when it comes to disruptions that happen. Often you have the resiliency to stay in business in the long run, but in the short term, when there are disruptions, you may temporarily close your doors, you may take a break, you may not operate in the primary offerings or services that you generally offer for short term, and your customers may understand. But I want to offer you a different perspective as a small business owner, as a small business leader. Even though you may want to keep your business intimate, you may want to keep running your business solo, you may want to keep your staff small and still have a small town feel or a small city feel. It doesn't mean that you can't run your small business as if it's big. I promote the concept of company B. Company A concept is in general is anyone can start a small business and you can make it work, you can wing it, you can follow a lot of the agencies, nonprofit agencies that give you the information on how to start a business. Company B, my concept, which is about managing through the disruptions, not just starting the company, but also running it with the mindset of readiness, transformation, resilience. And so I have been doing these resource videos for you to take in information here and there because I want to see you last, not just in the long run like you have, but also either prepare for retirement or sell your company or sell your expertise through consultancy. And I've been saying the word continuity. I am a business continuity planner. That's what I do here at NC Essentials. However, I want to go deeper into exactly what does that mean. So, large companies, organizations, corporations, especially those in the finance industry, must have a continuity plan, and that includes a disaster recovery plan because those industries are regulated or are using technologies or procedures that are regulated. And so, you, as a small business owner, do not have to comply, right? However, if your business stops and starts with you, you should consider a continuity plan because there are often things that you could do to prevent closings, and you can prevent supply chain issues or actually prevent closing your doors due to supply chain issues because if you consider the steps that you can take and actually document them, you would do better in maintaining your profits and also keeping compliant with safety procedures and any other regulatory procedures with which applies to your industry. So an example is if you have a long time um, relationship with a vendor and you're so used to ordering with that one vendor and that vendor is maybe 5 states away, um, you have a solid relationship and you rely on that one vendor. However, you haven't considered who the second or backup vendor would be. If that vendor has a supply chain issue or experience a disaster and are not able to produce what you need from that manufacturer or actually send out what you need, the question is, do you continue to operate with workarounds or do you stop offering the service or the products that you have if you no longer had communication due to something unforeseen? What would you do? Which vendor option would you choose? Or do you stop offering that service or product based on the availability from the one vendor? And no one wants to think about not having access to their one supply or supplies and their one vendor because you built up that relationship over the years for a reason. You wanted someone reliable, but there could be something that happens at that location, especially if it's a manufacturer, um, that could temporarily impact you and your profits. So when I'm talking about business continuity, I'm talking about the things that keep you operating as normal. Often, when you do a business plan, and I say often if you update it, but when businesses are advised to create a business plan and present it to a financial or institution or a nonprofit who's going to assist with some of the workings of the plan or advise, you're creating your plan normally for things to work as like in a perfect situation without disruptions. You're usually not coached on how to create a plan or um, consider the impact if a disruption happens. You're not usually advised to consider the impact on your business. You are usually creating a plan step by step. This is what I'm going to offer. These are my sales channels. This is how many employees. This is how much equipment I need. This is the location. Uh, these are the procedures we follow because of this industry. These are the compliance instructions or regulations we must follow. But if you become are no longer compliant, what are the things that could cause that, and what are your workarounds? If you have a supply chain issue, um, what are your things to work around it? Often when you're doing a plan as a new business owner or updating it as an existing business, you're always thinking of things working out. And because you do the plan, things will work out in this streamline way that I've set as a creative, as a talent. I have considered this is the line of work that I want to do. This is the way that we will make a profit. This is the way we will impact the community. And then you have your business plan. And then you go to the financial institution and then you say, hey, this is the amount of money that I want to borrow or the line of credit that I'm interested in because I have this awesome plan. And some people do get approved based on your personal credibility. And if you're an existing business, it could be based on your previous sales or your tax returns. It could be a combination of things, right? However, when you consider what you have learned as an existing business, when I talked to previously about lessons learned, it was the things that you captured at how you were able to overcome and be resilient, and you learn lessons and then you document it. If you followed the previous video where I was saying this is how we're going to capture your lessons learned, here use this form of documentation. So if you go and do that and then find a way to storytell about how you've been resilient, that can be helpful. But what I'm offering is the business plan that includes continuity or a component of continuity, a readiness mindset, because no business just flows as is, even if you planned it, right? So if you know that there are things that tend to disrupt businesses in your industry, you know that you're working in an industry that has changing regulations and laws. And then if you know that you, as a business owner who has challenging personal issues outside of the business, you know you have to consider what will make this not work. What are the things that will disrupt this operations? And I may have to put a sign on my door and close it for the time being till we figure it out. The figure it out part is what I like to offer talent, business leaders, creatives like you, because you're thinking of offering your skills and generating profit. You're not always thinking the business side of running the business, the things that you have to do if it doesn't go as planned. And so, as a business continuity planner, when you work with one company, which is what tends to happen in this role as a profession, you generally work within one company, and you're offering your expertise, so you're sticking and staying, and you are hired to not only plan but also to help the team activate different plans, which it could include the crisis communication um, plan, or the incident response plan. But there is a way to do or to activate these parts of the plan, right? But small business owners tend to not want to have a boss, not be told what to do. And I get that, because it's your business is your baby. But what if you had a plan that then tells you and your staff what to do, and you assign different roles for parts of the plan, so that you're activating the plan as needed when there are emergencies or disasters, right? Or there are smaller disruptions but impactful enough for you to consider closing your operations or stopping a primary part of your business. So, what do you already have in place is my question. If a vendor, for example, if there is an important relationship between you and the outside source that helps run your business, what do you have in place that will secure your profits, that will ensure safety for your employees and safety for your customers who may be at your location or shopping whatever product that you have manufactured or that you're reselling? What things do you have in place if you no longer have that relationship with that existing vendor because they may have an emergency at their location? This is where you, as a leader, have to think outside of your operations and see the bigger picture of how your operations really, you have to think globally or worldwide, because you're not limited to think of yourself as a separate entity, because you're working with the public and you're working with businesses, but those businesses are run by people. So if the people who are running the businesses that you must work with, or the organizations you must work with in order to make your operations be successful, you have to be mindful of what's going on in the world that would impact. So if you order your supplies in another state or another country, and then that country is impacted by events that make it hard for that business to keep up with offering you what they would normally offer under regular circumstances. What are your options? And being mindful of where you shop, how often you shop, how frequently can you receive the supplies or the services that you need in order to make your operation successful. So, yes, you are a small business, but how long will it be okay for you to continue to blame your closing on a pause in a relationship or pause in communication or pause in access to your to the thing that makes you do your thing, right? How long can we say, well, we're closing the doors today, the truck didn't deliver? How long can we operate in this way and still say we are successful as business owners? Because at some point, you're either going to remain as a company A and never transform, or become a company B and transform and find that ways to be resilient and also act in a mindset of readiness, that you are not just here to show up under regular, everyday, perfect or near perfect circumstances where things work well. You are willing to give to your customer the quality of service or products in spite of the things that challenge and test what you originally planned to do. So, what are your workarounds and what are your backup plans, and who, do you have to consider? Because even though it's your baby, it's your idea, once you put out in the public something that you set out to offer, how much of the responsibility are you also willing to take when you have a disruption in the offering? And what are you doing as a leader to provide continual service or provide some alternate? Or are you willing to outsource? What are you willing to do that is going to keep you running and keep you successful? And most of all, um, offer to your customers the same quality product and services in spite of disruption? Or have you determined when this type of disruption occurs, this is what we will do? We will definitely close our doors. Instead of it being up in the air, um, continuity says we're going to take these steps and make these things happen, or discontinue these things, offering the communication of what's going on. Like, just because I'm saying continuity is a continuation, really, what are the steps that you're going to take to operate? And if you're no longer going to operate, that being said and known and not up in the air. And this is what will make you a company B versus just a company business leader who started and said, I'm going to be one of thousands or millions of visionaries who start something and stick and stay. And this is not about stick and stay as far as longevity. It's really about the day to day operations that you are responsible for, and how it's no longer um, cute or profitable to continue to say we're closing the doors for today. Oh, did we have this disruption? Um, be better than that is what I am suggesting. And though you are small, you can still operate as big and having the big communication and the transformations you need to do better. And I hope that is helpful to you and to your organization. And I hope that you consider expanding your mindset into a readiness mindset and take the steps. Feel free to reach out to me, and I would love to work with new organizations, new to me, but those who have been in business for years and have an expert on hand, because you have gathered the learned lessons. You may not have captured them on paper, and you may not have started to write the procedures down that would be very helpful for your staff or future partners with your company. So feel free to reach out to me. And again, I am Aisha. Coach Aisha is what I go by. And you can go to always visit here at nce.company and make connections. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day.